when I meet people for the first time, and when they eventually find out that, yeah, I live a stomachless life, the first question out of their mouth is, well, how do you eat? How do you live? And I say, well, this is how it works, and it works well for me now. Hi, I'm Graham. I'm 61 years old, and I was diagnosed with aggressive stomach cancer in 2023, about this time of year. And I now live without my stomach. The day of my surgery, we we went to the hospital early in the morning and got registered, and we went up to the I guess the waiting room, the surgical suite, the waiting room. And at that time, we still weren't 100% sure whether or not they were going to do the total gastrectomy, or whether or not they were going to do a called a PG, a partial gastrectomy. And part of me had sort of held hope that, oh, okay, maybe they'll be able to just take, part of my stomach, the part that has the cancer. But when the surgeon and the gastroenterologist met with me, they confirmed that, yes, they were going to be taking my entire stomach. So I went into the operating room, and they gave me a spinal epidural for the post surgical pain and discomfort, which I appreciated after the fact. I didn't appreciate it at the time that it was being administered. But some people, when they have a total gastrectomy, it can be done laparoscopically. My surgery was the other one. It was a full incision, abdominal incision, that was about 8 inches long, right from just above my sternum down to almost below my belly button. They open me up and go in and remove my stomach, and they take the bottom of my esophagus and they connect it to the top of my small intestine. And all of the other connections, the bile ducts and all of the other connections, they are just sort of attached to that at that junction point. And any after the fact, any food that I eat goes automatically from my mouth directly down my esophagus and into my small intestine. My surgeon removed 22 lymph nodes. And they were automatically sent away for analysis, for pathology. And I didn't know. I was in the hospital for almost 10 days after my surgery. Some people are in the hospital for less time. Some people are in the hospital for more time. My recovery went well, but when you've had that kind of surgery, it's a lot. So it wasn't until about the 4th day after my surgery that every day my surgeon would come in at the end of the day. He would come in just to check up on me and see how things were going. And on the 4th day that he came in to see me, it was maybe for 30, 45 seconds. And as he was leaving, he kind of pulled back the curtain and said, "Oh, by the way, all of your lymph nodes came back clear." And I went, "You might have wanted to lead with that." But so I immediately, while the doctor was there, I said, "No, I need you to stay here. I need you to stay." And he said, "Okay." And I called my wife on my cell phone. And while I had my wife on the phone, I asked the surgeon to tell her what he had just told me. And he told her, he said, yes, all of the 22 of Graham's lymph nodes came back negative for spread. And I think my wife jumped about 3 feet off the floor when she heard that. She screamed, and it was a big relief for both of us, because like I said, I didn't need pre-surgery chemo or radiation. And they led with the surgery to remove my stomach and the lymph nodes. Um, the only sort of caveat to that I would add is that one or two of my lymph nodes showed something called lymphovascular invasion, which is where the cancer cells have started to invade the stomach lining and are working their way towards the lymph nodes, but haven't quite made it that far. Um, so it was one of those things where the timing couldn't have been more perfect because they got the cancer and they removed the lymph nodes before it had spread any further. I didn't require any chemo or radiation or immunotherapy after the surgery at all either. So the surgery itself was hard. The recovery was hard. The um, epidural was amazing, and the pain meds that I had in the hospital worked pretty well too. So after 10 days, they wouldn't let me leave the hospital until I had started to eat soft, solid food. They had done something called a fluoroscope on me to basically check all of the connections for leaks, um, where you stand and you drink this radioactive liquid, and they actually physically watch it move through your system. And if there's any leaks, well, they know that they have to go in and fix them. So I was very happy when I didn't have any leaks. And after that, my surgeon said, well, yeah, you can start. We're going to get you starting to some eat some soft, solid foods. I knew going into the surgery that because I wouldn't have my stomach anymore, um, that I would lose weight rapidly. That was, and for me, quite honestly, that was one of the biggest concerns that I had. Going into the surgery, I weighed about 185 or 187 pounds. The total weight that I lost post surgically was about between 45 and 50 pounds. So I went from 185 down to about 140. The biggest challenge after my surgery was finding foods that were high in calories, that I could at least try to maintain my weight and not lose any more, and try to gain gain weight, which in itself, stomachless living, gaining weight is remarkably difficult. There are people out there that have this surgery that they don't have any trouble whatsoever gaining weight back. But for me, it was a challenge, because I'm an active person. I've always had a pretty high metabolism, and uh, losing that much weight and not having my stomach made it really difficult to gain weight back. And now after almost 20, it's been 22 months since my surgery, I've managed to gain back about 12 pounds. I can eat for the first month after my surgery when I got home, because my stomach had been removed. All of In my mind, that sort of stomach brain connection was gone. So I didn't feel hunger in the traditional sense. When you have your stomach removed, uh, that that grumbling stomach to let you know that you're hungry, the hunger pangs that you get, that to let you know that, hey, I'm hungry, they weren't there. And a lot of the foods that I tried that prior to my surgery I really enjoyed, after my surgery, they nothing tasted right. to me because of that disconnect. But gradually over time, I built or added to my menu, and it was difficult to find foods, uh, protein shakes, and I tried high calorie weight gain powders and things like that. Um, and the problem with those is they're high in processed sugars, some of them, and when you lose your stomach, you can have issues with processed sugars going through your system too quickly. So I had to find foods that I liked and would give me calories. So I fell back on a lot of the sort of the basics, mashed potatoes and things like that. Mash Just things that were soft and that I could digest easily. Um, and now, 22 months later, I can eat almost anything and everything that I ate prior to my surgery. Now, in more limited quantities, I have to be careful with the amount that I'm eating, because I do find now at this stage in recovery that I want to eat more than my body can handle, and I'm actually finding that I have hunger again, and that's quite surprising to me that I feel hungry. Most social engagements involve food. If you're going out with friends or you're going out to the movie theater, I mean, it's popcorn and it's a soda, and it's if you're getting together with friends, you're either going to their house and you're having a meal, or you're getting together at the local pub, and you're having drinks, and you're having food, and there's always food is such an integral part of being social, that for the first year after my surgery, um, I really just didn't. I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it, um, and I quite honestly, I couldn't do it. I When it comes to social engagements, I'm quite careful about how much I eat and what I eat. I found it to be quite difficult to say yes to social engagements with friends and family, um, simply because of the I'll call it food anxiety that went with it. Every 3 months for the first year, after my surgery, I was going and having blood work and a CT scan. And at the 1 year mark, I had something called a circulating tumor DNA blood test, um, which it's called a here in Canada, it's called a Signatera test. And what it does is they take they take the DNA from my tumor, because they have it saved, and they take that DNA and they take a blood sample, and they look for cancer DNA in my blood. And since my surgery, all of those tests have come back negative. All of my CT scans have come back negative, and the circulating tumor DNA blood tests, I've had two since my surgery, and they have both come back negative. You can have the test, and when it's done, if it comes back negative, you can just you can breathe that sigh of relief, and just say, okay, I've got a new lease on life for the next 6 months or year, because now I'm having my CT scans and blood work done every 6 months. and I meet with my oncologist. I was meeting with my oncologist every 3 months after I would have my CT scan and blood work. And every time I would meet with my oncologist, she would give me the results, and she would say, you look good. You need to gain weight. Um, try this, try this. And every time I would have the blood work and go back, I would improve a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And now I'm at every 6 months. And then 6 months from now, I'll have another CT scan. And then in May of 2026, after I have my last 6 month scan, if it comes back clear, I'll go to once a year for the testing, and until the 5 year mark. And if I make it to the 5 year mark with no reoccurrence and all of my CT scans and circulating tumor DNA coming back negative, I'm kind of hoping I'll be considered cured. Cancer changed me pretty profoundly. I Emotionally, um, I still go about my daily activities. I get up and I work and I do things around the house and spend time with my wife and our family. But I don't take anything for granted anymore. I don't take waking up every day for granted. I don't take having a nice meal with my wife for granted. I love to cook. So that was really hard after my diagnosis, was knowing, because I genuinely love to cook. uh, I thought, how is this going to work? Because I love to cook. So I don't take any, even the small things. I don't take for granted, because I've realized that life can be shorter if you're not getting screened, I guess, is the right way to say it. And I'm so thankful every day that the circumstances around my diagnosis have allowed me to still be here and be able to speak with you and to spend time with my family and just enjoy getting up every day. And yeah, my recovery's been difficult, but at the same time, I'm thankful every day to be here. If you've never spoken with your primary care provider, your family doctor, doesn't matter how old you are. If you're 25, if you're 35, if you're 45, anything in between, and even younger, if you've never spoken with your doctor about regular screenings for colon cancer or gastric cancer, please do. When I meet people for the first time, and when they eventually find out that, yeah, I live a stomachless life, the first question out of their mouth is, well, how do you eat? How do you live? And I say, well, this is how it works, and it works well for me now. Ultimately, it leads to me telling them, if you've never spoken with your doctor about getting screened for stomach cancer or for colon cancer, please do. It could save your life. It literally saved mine. And if it's found early, like mine was found at stage T1B-NO, so I didn't need chemo, I didn't need radiation, I didn't need immunotherapy. Basically, the standard of care was to remove my stomach and then monitoring after the fact. That, for me, is the equivalent to winning the lottery when it comes to having stomach cancer. And I wouldn't want to wish what I've been through on anyone else. And I know that there are hundreds, thousands, millions of other people out there that will be affected by this terrible disease. And if it can be caught early enough, you can have an outcome maybe even better than mine. So my soapbox, I guess, yelling with a megaphone would be, please, if you've never thought about getting screened for stomach cancer or colon cancer, it doesn't matter how old you are, what your background is, speak with your doctor and get tested, and start getting screened. Maybe not as regularly as I do, but whatever the regimen is for your age group, do it, because it could save your life.